Imagine standing beneath a waterfall, feeling the power of rushing water envelop you, washing away every stain, every mark of the past. This is the power of grace and the forgiveness in our lives. A force so mighty it can cleanse the deepest sins and refresh the weariest souls. Today we explore this divine waterfall, understanding how grace and forgiveness are not just concepts, but lived experiences that can transform our very being. That's what comes up today on the Truth Be Told project. There is a place where transformation begins and the chains that bind us can be broken. Of course, it won't be by your own might, it won't be by your own strength, but it'll be by a power that is far greater than any storm we face. And in today's episode, it isn't just a discussion, it's a journey from the clutches of habitual sin to the liberating arms of grace and redemption. It's about finding that beacon of light in the darkest of skies and learning how to walk step by step into a life of freedom and peace. That's something I desire, and I know it's something you desire. So wherever you are, whatever battle you're facing, I invite you to join me and let's explore this journey together. We're going to understand the depths of the struggle, and we're going to learn how to embrace the power of grace. All right, let's start from the very beginning. And the beginning place from where we should start is we should first understand what we're dealing with, and that is habitual sin. What is it? What is habitual sin? It's a term that you often hear whispered in hushed tones in the church. It's a subject that is shrouded in a mix of guilt, confusion, and misunderstanding. But what does it mean? In essence, habitual sin is a pattern of behavior that goes against God's will. It's something we find ourselves returning to despite our desire to do otherwise. And the Apostle Paul encapsulates this struggle in Romans 7:18, and it says, "For I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my flesh. I want to do good, but I cannot do it. For I do not do the good I want, but I do the very evil I do not want. Now, if I do what I do not want, it is no longer me doing it, but the sin that lives in me." So we see in these verses, the Apostle Paul describes the internal conflict that plagues even the most faithful. So I want to tell you, regardless of what sin you're struggling to overcome, you're not alone. I think because habitual sin is such a taboo subject, and we all hear do not say, do not do, do not touch, do not look, do not listen in churches, and people are not transparent enough to talk about the struggles that they face, we often feel guilt. But regardless of that fact, I should just say that understanding the struggle is the first step to overcoming it. With understanding comes the need for acceptance and, most importantly, grace. Now, I'm not saying that you should accept the sin that you struggle with, but I am simply saying that you should accept that you will always have an internal conflict and you will always battle sin and temptation. We will deal with this struggle and conflict for the rest of our natural lives. The change will come with what is referred to in theological circles as the glorifying or the glorification of the body, or when our body is redeemed. Our soul is redeemed as of now for those who are in Christ, but the body remains unredeemed. We will be redeemed at the return of Christ when we're all changed in the twinkling of an eye. Now, in the face of habitual sin, grace is our lifeline. Now, let's be clear. I'm not suggesting that you should abuse God's grace. It would be best if you confessed with the intent of changing or repenting of sinful behavior. Also, I will say that it is by God's grace that you will find true and lasting change. So you want to accept God's grace, lean into God's grace with the intent of repenting or changing. It's important to remember that grace isn't just about forgiveness. It's about empowerment as well. It's God's way of saying, I am with you even in your struggle. 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds us that his grace is sufficient, and in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. So you want to lean into God's grace. God's grace is the foundation upon which we can start building our journey towards overcoming the sins that we face consistently on a daily basis. So lean into God's grace. Our journey against habitual sin is more than just breaking a cycle. It's about growing closer to God. It's about becoming more like Christ. It's a transformative process that begins to bring us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our faith, and the incredible grace of God. Philippians 1:6 tells us that he who began a good work in us will carry it on to completion. Hold on to that promise as you walk on this path. Remember, this journey is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's a path filled with challenges and immense growth and joy. And remember, please remember, you're not walking this path alone. God is with you every step of the way. Keep moving forward, keep growing, and embrace the freedom and peace that come with overcoming through Christ.